I killed my best friend with a single phone call, not because I hated her, but because she'd stolen my life, literally, and the only way to get it back was to make her watch it burn from the inside out. It started on a Tuesday in July, the kind of sweltering Chicago heat that turns the Loop into a pressure cooker, when I woke up in a body that wasn't mine, staring at a reflection that screamed corporate shark instead of starving artist. And the worst part? She didn't even know I'd figured it out yet, until I sent that first anonymous text, the one that read, "Miss me, Victoria? Because I'm wearing your skin like a bad habit." I never believed in soul swaps or voodoo curses. Hell, I'm Stella freaking Hargrove, the girl who grew up dodging bullets, figurative ones mostly, in the shadow of Cabrini Green projects before clawing my way to a shoebox studio in Wicker Park, painting murals that paid in ramen and regret. But that morning, everything flipped like a bad acid trip I didn't sign up for. I remember the exact second it hit. 7:14 a.m., my alarm blaring some indie playlist I'd curated to drown out the L train rumble. I slapped it silent, rolled over, and that's when the world tilted. My hands, her hands, were manicured to perfection, nails like polished obsidian, veins mapping out a life of spin classes and kale smoothies. I bolted upright, heart hammering like a jackhammer on Lakeshore Drive asphalt, and stumbled to the bathroom mirror in that godforsaken penthouse overlooking the Chicago River. Victoria Langford's face stared back. Not a doppelganger, not a dream, her. The Ice Queen attorney who'd crushed my dreams under her Louboutins 2 years ago when she buried my whistleblower exposé on her firm's dirty real estate deals. I'd been an intern at Langford and Associates, fresh out of Columbia College with a fine arts degree and stars in my eyes, thinking investigative sketches could expose the corruption eating the South Side alive. Instead, she framed me for embezzlement, planted evidence in my desk drawer, petty cash slips doctored to look like I'd siphoned funds for art supplies. I took the fall, spent 6 months in Cook County Jail, lost my scholarship, my family scattered like roaches when the lights flicked on. Mom OD'd on fentanyl before my trial ended. Dad just ghosted to Gary, Indiana, chasing ghosts of his own.
Victoria?
She got promoted, married a state senator, and toasted to justice served at the firm holiday party. But this was beyond betrayal. This was biblical. I touched her. My cheek felt the Botox-smooth skin, the faint scar from a freak skiing accident she'd bragged about on LinkedIn. Panic clawed up my throat as memories flooded in. Not mine. Boardroom battles, a loveless quickie in the firm library with a junior partner, the metallic tang of a $500 bottle of Napa Valley Cabernet. And then, sharper than a switchblade, my memories receding like tide pools, Stella's life dissolving into hers. No, wait, that wasn't right. It was like 2 reels of film spliced wrong, overlapping, fraying at the edges. I could still taste the cheap bodega coffee from my last shift at the gallery, but my fingers itched for a Mont Blanc pen instead of a charcoal stick. I didn't scream. Screaming's for the weak, and jail had beaten that out of me. Instead, I rifled through my nightstand, a Glock 19 registered to Victoria Langford, a vial of Adderall, prescribed, of course, for high-stress litigation, and a dog-eared journal with entries in her looping script. That's when I found it, the secret she'd buried deeper than the bodies in her firm's gentrification schemes. Page 47. The ritual worked. Dr. Voss confirmed the transfer at 2:17 a.m. Stella's essence is trapped in the shell. Mine reigns supreme. No loose ends. Her arrest sealed it. Power is mine now. Ritual? Dr. Voss? It clicked like a chamber loading. Victoria's obsession with the occult, whispered about in legal circles as eccentric hobbies. She'd consulted some black market neuroscientist/shaman in the underbelly of Pilsen, trading firm secrets for a forbidden procedure, body transference, stealing lives like identities in witness protection.
Why me?
Because I'd seen too much. I'd sketched the blueprints for her laundering ops, hidden in my murals, and she needed me silenced, not just jailed. So she swapped us, left Stella to rot in a cell with my name on the jumpsuit, while she paraded in mine, no, in hers, but now it was flipped. I laughed then. a hollow bark that echoed off the marble floors. The irony was thicker than the humidity outside. I'd spent years plotting revenge from the sidelines, anonymous tips to the Sun-Times, graffiti tags calling her out on abandoned warehouses. But this was God or the devil, handing me the keys to her kingdom. I showered in her rainhead fixture, the water scalding like absolution, and dressed in her walk-in closet. Armani power suit, heels that could double as weapons. By 8:45, I was in her corner office at Langford and Associates, barking orders at paralegals who jumped like I'd tossed them. Reschedule the deposition. Senator Hargrove's golfing in Scottsdale. Yeah, her husband, now technically my arm candy. The power thrummed in my veins, addictive as uncut coke, but I played it cool. Probe the edges, map the terrain. First order, track down Dr. Voss. A quick dive into her encrypted laptop. Password, Langford Legacy 2019, subtle, Vic, revealed emails to a ghost account, vossneural@protonmail.com. Buried in the metadata, a meetup spot, an abandoned warehouse in the meatpacking district, every full moon. Next full moon? 3 days out. Perfect. But I needed intel, not a suicide run. That's when I called in the ghost from my past. Tommy Ruiz, ex-con turned fixer, the guy who'd slipped me contraband sketchpads in the joint.
Stella?
That you soundin' like a yuppie on steroids. His laugh crackled over the burner I bought from a corner store in Humboldt Park. I spilled it all, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. I need dirt on Voss. And Vic's weak spots. Tommy whistled low. Girl, you in deep. But for you, I'll dig. While he worked, I settled into the role. Lunches at RPM Steak with power brokers, where deals on displacing Bronzeville families were sealed over dry-aged ribeyes. I nodded, smiled that Langford smile, cold as Lake Michigan in January, and filed every name, every handshake. But the swap gnawed at me. Flashes of her life intruded, a phantom ache from her C-section scar, twins with the senator, surprise, the muscle memory of signing briefs that doomed communities to redlining. And worse, echoes of my body out there, shambling through whatever hell she'd consigned it to. Was Stella painting in a psych ward, doped on antipsychotics, muttering about stolen souls? The thought fueled the fire low in my gut. By day 2, Tommy delivered. Voss was a disgraced MD from Rush University, peddling consciousness enhancement to the elite via dark web forums. Victoria's payment? A waterfront condo in Streeterville, off books. But the real gem? Voss's notes on the reversal. Sympathetic resonance required. Victim's anchor object to destabilize the bind. My anchor? The locket Mom gave me before the trial, engraved SH forever. It had been confiscated in jail, but Tommy's sweet-talked a guard for its whereabouts. Pawned in Little Village, $20 to some junkie. I retrieved it that afternoon, the chain cold against my palm, and felt a shiver, like static before a storm. That night, I hosted the firm mixer at the J. Parker rooftop bar, skyline glittering like fool's gold. I wore Victoria's signature red sheath, lips matched to blood money. Darlings, drinks on me. Let's toast to closing deals that stick. Laughter rippled, but I watched eyes, the associates whispering about my glow-up, the partners eyeing me like fresh meat. Senator Hargrove, Mark, to me now, squeezed my waist, breath, whiskey sour. You're on fire tonight, Vic. I leaned in, whispered. Wait till you see what I burn down. He chuckled, mistaking it for flirtation. Fools. As the night wore on, I slipped away to the ladies' lounge, locked the stall, and texted the number I'd traced to Voss. Full moon ritual. Double the fee. Bring the failsafe. No reply, but the read receipt glowed blue. Hook set. The controversial part? I knew this played dirty, impersonating her, gaslighting her empire. But betrayal like hers? It demanded escalation. I'd endured her crime, taking the fall for her fraud, my life swapped like a bad plea deal. Now, I'd make her pay in kind. Day 3 dawned gray, the city choking on smog from Gary Mills. Tommy met me in a dive off Division Street, sliding a dossier across the scarred Formica. Voss's lab is under the warehouse, full setup, neural caps, the works. But word on the street, Vic's been actin' squirrely in your body. Holed up in that old studio, paintin' like a demon. My blood ran cold. Was she unraveling? Or worse, piecing it together? One more thing, Tommy added, eyes hard. Reversal ain't clean. One's soul might not make it back whole. I pocketed the locket, decision crystallizing. Controversial as hell, but necessary. Sacrifice was my middle name. The full moon rose bloated over the industrial sprawl as I drove Victoria's Audi to the warehouse, tires crunching gravel like bones. Voss waited in the gloom, a wiry shadow in a lab coat stained with God knows what. Ms. Langford. The additional compensation. I handed over a briefcase. Firm slush fund. $50,000 in unmarked bills. His eyes gleamed, greedy as a South Side slumlord. The anchor? The locket dangled from my fingers. He nodded, leading me to the chamber. 2 chairs facing, wired to a jury-rigged MRI humming like a trapped hornet, symbols etched in chalk. Occult meets biotech, American ingenuity at its darkest. Strap in, he muttered. The resonance will pull her essence if she's linked. I sat, electrodes cold on my temples, locket clutched in my fist. The machine whirred to life, lights pulsing red, and I closed my eyes, whispering Stella's mantra. Paint the truth, even if it bleeds. Pain lanced through my skull, memories colliding. Victoria's mergers, my murals, her twins' first steps, Mom's last hug. Then a scream, not mine, from the shadows. She burst through the side door, my body wild-eyed and feral, paint-splattered overalls reeking of turpentine. You bitch. It's me. Victoria's voice from Stella's throat, raw and ragged. She'd figured it out, tracked the signal. Voss spun, but I was faster. Ripped the auxiliary cord, frying his console in a shower of sparks. Chaos erupted. Alarms wailing, her lunging at me with a palette knife, eyes burning with the same betrayal I'd felt in that jail cell. We grappled, our bodies, tangled in a grotesque mirror fight. You stole everything, she snarled, knife grazing her arm. Your fraud, your lies. I took the fall. I countered, knee to her gut, pinning her against the sparking rig. The locket pressed between us, glowing hot now, the resonance building. Voss scrambled for the exit, but Tommy's silhouette blocked it. My fixer with a .38, courtesy call. Boss lady says night-night, doc. The twist hit like a freight train from Union Station. As the machine overloaded, pulling souls like taffy, Voss gasped his dying confession. It wasn't just her. The firm. All of us. Your mother's overdose? We dosed the supply. Loose end from the exposé. Lies? No. Truth. Buried deeper than I knew. Victoria hadn't acted alone. The whole Langford machine had crushed Mom to silence us both. Betrayal squared, a hydra of corruption. The surge peaked, bodies convulsing, and I blacked out to the sound of her plea. Stella, wait. I came to in a hospital bed at Northwestern Memorial, the beep of monitors sinking with a pulse in my temples, Chicago's skyline mocking me through the blinds like a half-remembered dream. Nurses fluttered, white coats, clipped voices. Miss Hargrove, you're lucky to be alive. But I knew better. The locket lay on the bedside table, tarnished but whole, and when I caught my reflection in the call button chrome, it was me. Stella's sharp cheekbones, the faint scar from a childhood bike crash on the lakefront path, eyes like storm clouds over Lake Michigan. The swap had reversed, messy as a back-alley abortion, but I'd clawed my way back. Victoria? She was in the bed across the ward, sedated, her body limp under restraints, monitors flatlining her fight. Doctors murmured about traumatic amnesia, but I saw the flicker in her gaze when our eyes met. Recognition, raw terror. Tommy had cleaned up. Voss's body dumped in the Calumet River, ruled a suicide by overworked CPD. The warehouse? Torched, chalk symbols ash. But the real blaze was just igniting. I had her empire's keys now, access codes, client lists, the digital skeletons in Victoria's cloud. Discharge came quick. No insurance hassles when you're Stella Hargrove, cleared wrongful conviction. The Sun-Times had run the story, anonymous leak, courtesy Tommy, exposing the framed job, painting me as the artist victim triumphant. Protests erupted outside Langford and Associates, justice for Stella trending, South Side moms chaining themselves to the doors, demanding reparations for the evictions I'd sketched into oblivion. I played the part. Tearful interviews on WGN, clutching that locket like a talisman, voice cracking on Mom's name. They didn't just steal my freedom, they erased my family. Lies wrapped in truth, controversial as feeding the homeless with caviar. Was I grieving or gloating? The line blurred, and I loved it. Back in my Wicker Park studio, dusty canvases, eviction notices yellowed like old regrets, I plotted. Revenge wasn't a sprint. It was a marathon through the Loops canyons, every turn a potential ambush. First, the buried secret. Voss's flash drive, snatched from his pocket in the fray, detailed the firm's web. Not just real estate scams, payoffs to aldermen, fentanyl-laced shipments to quiet whistleblowers, Mom's among them. Evidence enough to torch it all, but I wanted personal. Victoria's decisions had been cold calculus. Swap the intern, frame the artist, climb the ladder on broken backs.
Mean it?
I'd make them feel. I started small, insidious. Hacked her emails. Her passwords were as predictable as her affairs, forwarding confessions to her inner circle, the senator, her partners, even the twins' nanny. I did it for us. Stella had to go. Gaslighting gold. The senator called me, Stella, ranting about Vic's breakdown, begging for advice. I cooed sympathy, suggested couples therapy at a discreet clinic in Evanston, actually a front for my setup, where a planted shrink would dose him with truth serum light, extract his complicity in the cover-ups. Mark, darling, we all have secrets. Like that vote on the West Side redevelopment, blood money, wasn't it? He cracked like cheap drywall, spilling tapes, transfers, enough to indict. The firm felt it next. As reformed victim, I consulted pro bono, irony's sharpest blade, advising displaced tenants on class actions. Board meetings turned circus, partners sweating as I innocently referenced Voss's hypothetical neural tech, eyes darting like cornered rats. Imagine if someone swapped loyalties overnight, I'd say, sipping their single malt, watching Victoria's protege choke on his cigar. Controversial? Hell yes. Exploiting trauma for takedowns, blurring Vigilante and Victor. But power's a drug, and I was hooked, sketching their downfalls in charcoal. Caricatures leaked to the Tribune, scandals blooming like milkweed in the prairies. Victoria woke fully on week 3, transferred to a psych ward at Hartgrove under observation. I visited, bouquets of lilies, funeral flowers, her favorite, in hand. She was a ghost in her own skin, hair lank, eyes hollow, ranting to orderlies about the imposter in my office. I sat prim, legs crossed like a debutante at the pump room. Vic, honey, it's Stella. Remember the warehouse? You came for me, sweet, in a psycho way. Her scream echoed down the hall, orderlies swarming like flies on a loop hot dog. Liar. That's my life. But it wasn't. I'd filed for divorce as her proxy, citing irreconcilable souls. The senator was under FBI scrutiny, their twins shipped to her sister in Milwaukee. Her journal? Shredded, pages fed to the Chicago River from Navy Pier. The climax brewed in the firm's anniversary gala at the Art Institute. Ironic, lions at the entrance roaring approval as I slipped in, Stella's thrift store gown brushing marble like a whisper. Victoria had clawed enough sanity to attend, paroled on good behavior, flanked by handlers. The room buzzed, power suits, champagne flutes, whispers of my comeback. I cornered her by the Chagall windows, city lights fracturing through stained glass. Dance with me, Vic. One last waltz. She stiffened, but protocol pinned her. Eyes locked, we swayed to some string quartet drone. You think you've won? She hissed, breath hot with institutional bleach. I built this.
You?
Your graffiti on a wall, washed away by the first rain. I smiled. Victoria's old smirk twisted through my lips.
Nah.
I'm the flood. That's when I dropped it. The USB, Voss's full files, auto-forwarded to every DOJ contact, every reporter in the tri-state. Sirens wailed distant. Feds incoming, tipped by Tommy. Panic rippled. Partners bolting for exits, champagne spilling like confessions. She lunged then, nails raking my arm, her blood under my nails.
Bitch.
I'll bury you again. Security peeled her off, but not before I leaned in. Too late. Your crime? My mistake? We both paid. But I got the refund. The controversial decision. Let her swing alone, or drag the twins into the splash zone. I chose mercy. Twisted, sure. Whispering to the lead agent. She's the head. Cut it off clean. Betrayal's echo, but mine rang truer. As cuffs clicked on her wrists, the twist uncoiled like a South Side vine. A burner buzzed in her pocket. Text from an unknown. Anchor failed. Real swap. Voss took mine. Enjoy the cage, Stella. My blood iced. Voss's dying words. Lie or lure. Flashes hit. Not reversal, but cascade. Her essence in the river corpse. Mine intact. But Victoria's? Trapped in limbo, a third soul, Voss's. Piloting my old shell? No, the text sender. I yanked it free. Coordinates to a Gary motel, Dad's old haunt. The gala dissolved into chaos, but I slipped out, hailing a cab to the Dan Ryan, heart pounding like a bass line at empty bottle. Dad? Alive, entangled? The truth inverted. Mom's OD wasn't the firm's, Voss's tech, testing on family for the ritual, Dad complicit as the supplier. Betrayal tripled, a family hydra. I arrived at dawn, door ajar, Voss's partner, waiting, not Dad, but a mirror. Me, Stella's body, grinning with Victoria's eyes.
Sorpresa, sis.
The swap was mutual. Your bloodline's the key. Welcome home. The room spun, motel neon flickering vacancy, like a curse. I'd avenged the wrong ghost. Home? That word tasted like rust in my mouth, bitter as the Metra coffee sloshing in the motel's styrofoam cup. The me, across the table, Victoria's soul in Stella's flesh, leaned back, legs kicked up on the scarred particle board, a Miller High Life sweating rings on the Bible from the nightstand. Gary's industrial haze filtered through threadbare curtains, the air thick with blast furnace stink and regret. Cat got your tongue, Stell? Or should I say, Vic? Sloppy seconds on the body count. Her laugh was mine once, throaty, from late nights at the gallery, but laced with her venom, it curdled. I didn't flinch. Jail taught you that. Stare down the abyss, make it blink first. Explain.
Now.
Or I walk, and the feds get a twofer. She smirked, sliding a crumpled pack of Pall Malls across, my habit pre-swap. I lit one, drag burning like absolution, and she spilled. The ritual wasn't Victoria's solo genius. It was a syndicate, Voss the frontman for a cabal of Midwest moguls, steel barons, pharma execs, Langford's silent partners, chasing immortality via essence harvesting. Mom? Test subject 0, her OD and neural overload from the first botched transfer. Dad? Not ghosted, recruited, broken by grief, funneling addicts into the program for scraps. He sold you out, kid. Said you were too soft for the truth.
But Vic?
She volunteered for the swap, saw your sketches, knew you'd expose the whole enchilada. Voss flipped it, put her and you to monitor, you in her to marionette. Twist upon twist, a Mobius strip of deceit. I'd suffered her crime, the frame, the jail, the swap, not as pawn, but as bait. My mistake? Trusting blood over ink, painting family as sacred when Dad had pawned the locket for his fix. Where's he now? I rasped, smoke curling like accusations. She tapped ash into the Gideon. Burning. Lit out for Detroit after Voss glitched. But you're the anchor now. Blood resonance. Kill the host. You both unravel. Controversial calculus. Mercy for a monster in my skin. Or end the cycle. Damn the fallout? I chose the dark path. American as apple pie a la mode with arsenic. We drove south on I-94, her in the passenger seat of a stolen Impala, chains clinking like wind chimes, courtesy my zip tie from the glove box. Detroit's ruins loomed, Motown ghosts in boarded windows, the river a sluggish vein pumping rust. Dad's last ping, a flop in Delray, near the Zug Island hulks. We found him in a shotgun shack, reeking of wild turkey and despair, hunched over a hot plate frying Spam. Stella. His eyes, bloodshot mirrors of mine, widened. The hell? Two of you? Victoria and me chuckled.
Surprise, but.
Family reunion. He cracked then, spilling like the Detroit River in spring thaw, the payoffs, the rituals in abandoned auto plants, souls swapped for stock tips. I did it for her, your ma. Thought Voss could bring her back. Lie or delusion?
Didn't matter.
The decision loomed, heavy as a .45 in my coat pocket. Victoria's Glock. Fate's full circle. You buried the secret, Dad. Mom's blood on your hands. He begged, knees buckling on the linoleum, but I saw Mom's face in the flames of his lighter. Overdose eyes, vacant as Cabrini Tower's pre-demolition. The shot echoed like Judgment Day in the empty factory district, body slumping soft against the wall. Victoria and me watched impassive. Your call. Now, what, finish me? The climax crested, not revenge's blaze, but its ember. I pressed the locket to her, my chest, resonance humming, the air crackling like a summer storm over Millennium Park.
No.
You live with it. In this skin, scraping by on minimum wage, painting truths no one buys. That's the hell you built. I triggered the failsafe, Voss's override code, whispered in the warehouse, souls snapping back like rubber bands. Pain ripped through, bodies convulsing on the cold floor, but this time clean, Victoria ejected, essence dissipating like Gary smog, no vessel left.
Me?
Whole, scarred, but Stella, artist, avenger, orphan twice over. Dawn broke bloody over the river as I walked out, Dad's body a loose end for the crows. Back in Chicago, the fallout cascaded. Langford and associates crumbled under indictments, Senator and Supermax, tenants were claiming blocks with murals I designed. Anonymous, of course. The twins? Wards of the state, but I funneled trust funds, ghosts of guilt. Controversial ending? I got the girl, my life, reclaimed, but at what cost? Power's illusion, revenge a mirror maze. Readers debate, hero or villain. I light another smoke on the L, city blurring past, and think, both. And neither. The truth? It's in the paint, dripping red as the skyline at dusk. But here's the final hook. That text from the motel? Not Voss. Dad's burner, his last act, warning me or luring. The locket warms in my pocket, a secret still buried. Maybe the swap lingers, a whisper in the blood. Or maybe it's just Chicago. City of big shoulders, bigger lies. Either way, I keep painting. Because in the end, the canvas always wins.